My name is Owen Garrett. I'm 35 years old. I live in a one-bedroom apartment on the third floor of a building on Caldwell Street in Portland, Oregon. I work in urban planning for the city, mostly zoning, land use, the kind of work that matters enormously to about 40 people, and is completely invisible to everyone else. I'm not telling you that to be self-deprecating. I genuinely like the work. I like thinking about how space is used, what a city owes its people, how much of daily life is shaped by decisions nobody remembers being made. I tell you what I do because it matters to how I see things. I notice space. I notice who's comfortable in it and who isn't. I notice when a room is working and when it isn't, when someone is where they want to be and when they're calculating the fastest exit. That's why I noticed her. It was a Friday evening in late September. I was at Linden, a bar restaurant on Morrison Street that I went to occasionally because it had good beer and the kind of background noise that didn't make conversation impossible. I wasn't meeting anyone. I'd had a long week of zoning meetings, and I wanted a beer and something to eat and 45 minutes of being somewhere that wasn't my apartment or my office. I sat at the bar because tables felt presumptuous for one person. The couple 2 seats down from me had clearly not met before tonight. I didn't intend to pay attention to them. But I'm professionally trained to notice the dynamics of occupied space, and the dynamic between these two had the particular energy of something going wrong slowly. The man was maybe 40, loud in the specific way of someone performing confidence rather than having it. He'd been talking for what I estimated was the better part of 30 minutes about a boat he was thinking about buying, and he'd managed to work the word investment into the conversation 4 times in the last 10 minutes, which I knew because I'd been counting without meaning to. The woman was 30-something, dark hair, a green dress that she'd clearly thought about. Not formal, just considered. She was sitting very straight in the way people sit when they're trying to take up less space than they're entitled to, and she was holding her wine glass with both hands like it was the most interesting thing in the room, which it clearly wasn't, but was significantly better than the alternative. She had the expression of someone doing complex arithmetic, not the boat arithmetic, the how do I get out of this without making a scene arithmetic. I recognized it immediately. I looked away. Not my situation. Not my evening. I ordered my beer. My food arrived. I ate. 10 minutes later, I looked back. The man was still talking. The boat had apparently become a yacht by this point. The woman's wine glass was empty. She was not getting a refill because getting a refill meant staying, and everything about her body language said she was very close to the point where staying stopped being something she could continue to negotiate with herself about. She glanced around the bar. Her eyes landed on me for exactly 1 second, then moved on, then came back. I don't know what she saw in my face. Probably nothing useful. I wasn't doing anything except sitting at the bar with a beer and the particular expression of a man watching something go wrong that he has no standing to interfere with. But something made her eyes come back. And then she did something I didn't expect. She gave me a look. Not a flirtatious look. Not an asking for help look. A very specific look that said, I am about to do something and I need you to not ruin it. I had no idea what that meant. Then she turned to the man beside her and said, I'm so sorry. Is that my friend at the bar? The man turned to look. I had approximately 1.5 seconds to decide who I was. I raised my hand. She was off her stool before the man had fully processed the situation. She crossed the 2 seats between us, leaned on the bar beside me, and said in a voice just loud enough for me to hear, Please just talk to me for 5 minutes like we know each other. I'll explain after. So sorry, I said. What's your name? Dara, she said. Owen, I said. Do you want a drink? God, yes, she said. I waved down the bartender. Psst. The man, whose name I later learned was Keith, waited approximately 3 minutes before coming over. He stood at a slight distance and said, with the smile of someone trying to recover a situation, I didn't realize you had a friend here. Dara said, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot we'd made plans. Keith looked at me. I looked back. I had the advantage of having no idea what I was supposed to be in this scenario, which paradoxically made me very calm. I said, She's been looking forward to this all week. Keith's smile didn't exactly fall. It just reconfigured into something more honest. He said to Dara, "We should do this again sometime." Dara said, "Of course," in the voice of someone who has already decided they will not be doing this again. Keith left. Dara watched him go. Then she put her elbows on the bar and put her face in her hands for about 4 seconds. She came back up. She looked at me. "I'm so sorry," she said. "That was completely unhinged. You don't know me. I looked at you, and I thought you had a kind face, and I was desperate." "A kind face," I said. "Is that offensive?" she said. "No," I said. "It's just not the first thing people usually lead with." "I'm not usually this forward," she said. "Or this rude. Can I buy you a drink?" "For covering." "You don't have to buy me anything," I said. "How long had you been sitting there?" 45 minutes, she said. He talked about a boat for 30 of them. "A yacht by the end," I said. She stared at me. "You heard?" "I wasn't listening specifically," I said. "I noticed things. Occupational habit." "What do you do?" she said. "Urban planning," I said. "I think about how space is used. Who's comfortable in it? Who isn't?" She looked at me with an expression I couldn't immediately categorize. "And I wasn't comfortable," she said. "You were doing the exit arithmetic," I said. "I recognized it from about 10 feet away." She laughed. It came out surprised and genuine, the kind of laugh that arrives before the person decides whether to let it. "The exit arithmetic," she said. That's exactly what it was. I pushed the drink toward her that I'd ordered before she could argue about paying. She took it. "Thank you," she said. "Owen." "Dara," I said. We sat at the bar. Neither of us went anywhere. We talked for 2 hours. I want to be clear that I didn't plan this. I had come to Linden for 45 minutes of quiet and a beer. I had not come to have a 2-hour conversation with a woman in a green dress who had used me as a social emergency exit. But the conversation had a quality I wasn't prepared for. She was direct. Not aggressively, just genuinely. She answered questions fully. She asked questions that were actually about what she wanted to know, not questions deployed to be interesting. She disagreed with me about something in the first 20 minutes. Whether Portland's recent zoning changes were helping or hurting walkability, and she did it without softening it into a non-disagreement, which I found more refreshing than I expected. She was a landscape photographer. She'd been doing it for 8 years, had a small studio space, did commissions and editorial work and occasional gallery shows. She told me about a project she was currently working on, documenting urban green spaces over time, the same locations photographed seasonally for 3 years, watching what changed and what didn't. I said, "That intersects with my work, actually." She said, "How?" I said, "Those spaces exist because of decisions made in planning. Most people don't know why a particular corner has a park or why a street has trees. They just experience it. Your project is documenting the experience of decisions nobody remembers making." She looked at me. "I never thought of it that way," she said. "It's a compliment," I said. "You're archiving the result of intention." She turned her glass. "You're the first person who's made my project sound important without making it sound pretentious," she said. "It is important," I said. "Pretentious would be if you were making it about yourself. You're making it about the spaces." She studied me. "How long have you been in Portland?" she said. 6 years, I said. "Favorite green space in the city?" she said. Rapid fire, testing something. "Terwilliger," I said. Not the obvious answer, but it's the one where you can actually hear the city change as you walk. You move through 3 acoustic environments in half a mile. She pulled out her phone. She opened a folder. She turned the screen toward me. Photograph. Terwilliger. Late afternoon light, the specific gold of October, the path curving between trees. "Last Tuesday," she said. I looked at the photograph, then at her. "That's my project location number 7, she said. "I've photographed it 4 times already." I looked at the image again. It was extraordinary. Not because of technical skill, though that was evident, because of what it understood about the space. The photograph knew what the path felt like, not just what it looked like. "You've been there in this light," I said. "Twice," she said. "You have to wait for it." "You waited," I said. "Good things require waiting," she said, simply, like something she'd learned and made peace with. I handed the phone back. We looked at each other. Something in the quality of the silence between us was different from the silence of two people who just met. I couldn't explain it precisely. I work in the logic of space and structure. I don't have a technical framework for the feeling of a conversation that fits like it was already there. But it was there. At some point the bar got louder around us, and she leaned slightly closer to hear better and didn't lean back after. At some point, I stopped tracking the time. At some point, I don't know exactly when, we stopped being a man and a woman who'd stumbled into a conversation and became something with a different quality. Not defined, just different. At 10:30, she looked at her phone and said, "I've kept you for 2 hours." "You didn't keep me," I said. "I stayed." "You stayed," she said. "I wanted to," I said. She looked at the bar in front of her, then at me. "This is going to sound strange," she said. "Tonight has already been strange," I said. "Go ahead." "This is the best Friday evening I've had in a long time," she said. "And it started because I dragooned a stranger into pretending to know me." "I did know you," I said. "Ex arithmetic. Terwilliger. Good things require waiting." She smiled. The real version. The one that had been building all evening. "Owen," she said. "Yeah. Can I give you my number?" I said. I was trying to figure out how to ask for it without it being weird given that we've known each other for 2 hours. "It's already weird," she said. "We might as well commit to it." She put her number in my phone. I walked her out. On the sidewalk outside Linden. The September night was cool, and the street was still, and she had her jacket on now and looked, somehow, more settled than when I'd first seen her, the exit arithmetic gone, replaced by something easier. She said, "Thank you. For the cover and the conversation." "Thank you for the photograph," I said. She smiled. She turned to go. Then she looked back. "Owen," she said. "Yeah." "Kind face was the right call," she said. She walked away. I stood on Morrison Street for a moment. Then I walked home, 3 blocks in the cool night air, thinking about the photograph, about the light at Terwilliger, about a woman who waited for the right conditions, because she understood that some things couldn't be rushed. I called her the next day. Not because I'd calculated the appropriate waiting period. Because I was looking at a zoning map at 9 in the morning, and my mind kept returning to the conversation, and I decided that was information worth acting on. She answered on the 3rd ring. "You called," she said. "I said I would," I said. "You didn't actually say that," she said. "It was implied," I said. She laughed. The same surprised at itself laugh from the night before. "I have a question," I said. "Okay. Your project, the green spaces. Do you have location number 7 scheduled again?" A pause. "Next Saturday morning," she said. "I go early. The light is different in the morning." "Can I come?" I said. Silence. "You want to watch me take photographs," she said. "I want to see the space through your project," I said. "I've approved zoning on half those locations. I've never seen someone document what they became." "That's a very professional reason," she said. "It's also an excuse," I said. She was quiet for a moment. 7:30, she said, dress for walking. "I'll be there," I said. Terwilliger on a Saturday morning in October was different from the Tuesday afternoon in the photograph. The light was lower, cooler in color, the path quieter, only a few runners, the city noise further away. Dara was already there when I arrived. Camera bag, a smaller bag over one shoulder, hair back, a rust-colored jacket that belonged in this particular light. She was looking up at the canopy when I reached her, and she didn't stop looking up when she heard me approach. "The leaves are 2 weeks past peak," she said. "There's a different quality to it. More honest." "Honest how?" I said. "Peak is performing," she said. "This is just what it is." I looked up. She was right. We walked for 2 hours. I watched her work without interrupting it. She didn't narrate. She moved through the space with the same patience she described the night before, stopping where she needed to stop, waiting for conditions to arrange themselves, then taking the photograph. At one point she stopped at a bench overlooking a slope of thinning trees and looked through the lens for a long time without pressing anything. I said, "What are you waiting for?" She said, The light to move another 3 degrees. It's almost there." I sat on the bench. I waited. 2 minutes. 3. She pressed the shutter. Then she lowered the camera and sat beside me. She looked at what she'd taken. She showed me the screen. the slope, the thinning trees. The specific quality of light that was almost but not quite past its moment, caught right at the edge of it, full of a kind of beauty that knew it was temporary. I looked at it for a long time. You caught it, I said. 3 degrees, she said. Worth waiting for, I said. She glanced at me. Something in the morning light and the quiet and 2 hours of walking through a space we both, for different reasons, understood. Something settled between us that was past the stage of being assessed. Owen, she said, yeah. Last night wasn't an accident, was it? It wasn't a question exactly. The exit arithmetic wasn't an accident, I said. I noticed it because I was paying attention. I was paying attention because something about the room. Because of me, she said, plainly. Because of you, I said. She looked at the slope. I went on that date because my friends set it up and I'd said no to 4 things in a row, and she told me I was disappearing into my project, she said. She wasn't wrong. I do that. I get very focused on what I'm building and I forget to look up. And did you? I said. Look up last night. She was quiet. Somewhere around the zoning conversation, she said. I looked at the path ahead. I've been alone for 2 years, she said. Not unhappily. Just present with my own life without much room for anything else. She turned the camera in her hands. I'd gotten used to it. Until a stranger covered for you in a bar, I said. Until that, she said, and the corner of her mouth moved. I said, I'm not a complicated person, Dara. I notice things. I think carefully. I try to do the right thing in the space I'm given. I looked at her. I'd like to keep doing this, whatever this is, at whatever pace works. She studied me, the same looking she'd done in the bar. Full attention, no hurry. No performance, she said. None, I said. Psst. No pretending things are simpler than they are. I work in zoning, I said. Nothing is ever simple, but it can be clear. She looked back at the slope. Sunday, she said. Dinner. Somewhere we both pick. How do we both pick? I said. We each suggest one place, she said. We flip for it. And if the flip goes wrong, I said, then we go to the other one the week after, she said. I looked at her. You're already planning the week after, I said. She glanced at me sideways. I'm a photographer, she said. I think in sequences. She won the flip, a Vietnamese place on Division Street she'd been going to for 3 years. Small, warm, the kind of restaurant that had been there long enough to feel permanent. We ate and talked for 3 hours and argued about whether documentation was a form of preservation or a form of letting go, and neither of us won, but both of us meant it. On the walk back to her car, she said, You're nothing like I expected. What did you expect? I said. I don't know, she said. Something more careful. I am careful, I said. No, she said. You're precise. There's a difference. Careful holds back. Precise just makes sure it's right. I looked at her. That's the most accurate thing anyone's ever said about me, I said. I'm observant, she said. Occupational habit. She said it back to me with a small smile and got in her car. I walked home. I thought about precision, about being right rather than safe, about a woman who waited 3 degrees for the light to move because she understood that timing was not the same as rushing. 4 months later, her friend Maya, the one who had set up the boat date, met me for the first time at a dinner Dara hosted. Maya looked at me across the table and said, You're the bar guy. I'm the bar guy, I said. She came home that night and called me, Maya said. She said she'd had the best conversation of the year with a stranger who covered for her exit. She called it exit arithmetic, I said. Maya pointed at Dara. I like him, Dara said. I know. That's why I invited you. Maya raised her glass. To Keith and his yacht, she said, for being bad enough that she needed rescuing. To Keith, I said. Dara shook her head, but she was smiling. The real one. The one I'd been collecting. I asked her to marry me at Terwilliger. A year after the Saturday morning, we'd walked it together. October again, the leaves 2 weeks past peak again, the light doing the thing it did in that particular season. I'd asked Maya for advice. Maya had said, Don't do a restaurant. Do something that's yours. Terwilliger was ours. I took her there on a Saturday morning like the first one. She had her camera. She didn't know yet. At the bench overlooking the slope, I sat down and waited. She stood with the camera, watching the light. 3 degrees. She took the photograph. She sat beside me. I said, "Can I see?" She handed me the camera. I looked at the screen, the slope, the thinning trees. 1 year later, the same bench, the same angle, the same quality of light. "It's the same," I said. "Not exactly," she said. "The maple on the left is taller. The path is slightly more worn." Things change even when they look the same. I put the camera down. I looked at her. "Dara," I said. "Yeah." "I've been thinking about sequences," I said. She looked at me. Something in my voice had changed, and she heard it. "This is one," I said. "Last October. This October. Every October after." She was very still. "I don't want to document this from a distance," I said. "I want to be in it. Every season, whatever the light is doing." I reached into my jacket pocket. A simple ring. I'd asked her sister what she'd want. Her sister had said, "Nothing that performs, something that lasts. A thin gold band, a small inset stone. Nothing that performed." She looked at it, then at me. The assessment. The full, careful attention. But underneath it, something that had been there for a long time, and that she'd stopped trying, put away. "Owen," she said. "Yeah, you're very precise," she said. "I'm trying to be right," I said. Her eyes went bright. "Yes," she said. I put the ring on her finger. She looked at it. Then she picked up her camera. She turned it toward us. She took the photograph. First one we had together. She looked at the screen. "Good light," she said. Her voice was doing something. "We waited for it," I said. She leaned against me. The slope was quiet. The trees were doing what they did in October, letting go of what they didn't need and trusting the roots to hold. I thought about a Friday evening in September, a bar, a woman doing exit arithmetic, a look that said, "Don't ruin this." I thought about how I'd raise my hand, not because it was my business, not because I had a plan, because she'd looked across a room and something in her face asked a question, and something in mine said yes before I'd fully understood what was being asked. That's how it started, not with intention, not with a plan, with a raised hand, and 45 minutes that became 2 hours, that became a Saturday morning, that became every Saturday morning after. Some things you can't zone in advance. Some spaces you just have to enter and see what they become.